Hello, I'm Scott with Leo Starfire.
I'm Amanda with Starfire Apothecary.
And I'm Eshe with both.
So we decided to make a video about the people on our Ofrenda, which are the people that we communicate the most with through spirit communication.
And if you want to know what an ofrenda is, it's literally an altar for the deceased and those that have passed on to another realm. It's basically something represented by Santa Muerte and Mexican and Latin culture, and so we have that in the house, decorated like the Dia de los Muertos and all kinds of stuff with it's decorated behind us.
But it stays up all year because they stay with us all year. Every time we do a spirit box, we don't do videos. Matter of fact, this is our first video, but we've been talking through the spirit box now for coming up on a year, and we have slowly built up our Ofrenda.
We've got an army.
We do. We have several people that we talk to, and we just wanted to introduce those people so when you see our spirit box videos, then you kind of have an idea of who we're talking to.
Okay, so go ahead.
The first person we'd like to talk about is Josh. So a little bit about Josh. We were first getting into spirit communication stuff. We had bought a spirit box, and we were actually trying to reach out to Amanda's grandparents, which we did successfully. But during that time, in our house, Josh stepped forward and let us know that he was here. And shockingly enough, he was, and we've been talking to him ever since. Josh was a childhood friend of mine. He died at the age of 16. Died through a car wreck years and years ago, decades ago. And apparently he's been with me ever since. And not only me, but he's been with his own family. And he loves to talk. He loves to do things for people. He's brought people forward for not only us, but like there's been people that need to connect with their past loved ones, and he actually has brought those people forward for the people that we bring in here.
He's literally a spirit guide.
He is. He is.
Literally, like the what it says is what he is.
Right. And he's asked us to reach out to some of his family members or whatever, but and we have, and everything that he's told us has been basically spot on. So
I never knew Josh in life. I only know him in death. And so whenever I'm on these spirit box sessions, I am blindfolded. I have, these noise canceling earbuds in my ear, and I just go into this dark space, and it's literally like a void. And so whenever each spirit comes up we're going to talk about behind us, there's a corresponding color that I see to let me know that it's them that I'm speaking for. And I'll get flashes, especially if we're busy. We got a lot of people in here, then I'll get flashes of color for who's talking. So I have to listen back to the conversation, the whole conversation, so that way I can be able to tell what that person said. So, all right, so the next person. Oh, Eshe.
You want to say anything about Josh?
I mean, he's a cool person, he brings a lot of people through, and I like him for that. He's a really cool person.
He is.
He is. All right, well, now we're going to talk about my grandparents. The picture that you're seeing right now was taken like when they were dating, like so cute. They were married for well over 40 years. They both passed too soon. My grandfather was literally like my dad, and my grandmother was like a mom. She was just amazing in everything that she taught me how to do, and same as my grandfather. I wish that my husband would have got to have known them. My grandfather passed away before me and Scott got together 21 years ago, 20 years ago. So,
we actually credit him for us getting together because not very long after he passed, me and Amanda got together, and there was a lot of strange coincidences and things that went on, and as time moved on, we could realize maybe he's got a hand in this, because there's been several times when he talks through me, and it's crazy. But I mean, again, there's a lot of things that just blow our mind, and it seems unreal, but it can't be denied. It's for real. But anyway, back to your grandparents. Anything else?
Oh no. One fun fact about my grandfather is he was in the Navy. And so he was, dedicated military service person. My grandmother was a dedicated nurse that joined the military late in life. So if I can tell you anything about my grandmother, she's a very feisty spirit. Okay, so like she comes across in death exactly how she came across in life. So if she seems pushy or forward, that's just her southern charm. So y'all just disregard.
And I, I tell everybody too that Nene is like a mother figure to all of our spirits on the Ofrenda. A lot of times she'll get on to them, and they all seem to be in this like agreement that like they don't want to mess with our free will. So a lot of times when we start asking about the future, they don't really want to get too much into the future.
My grandmother's like, stop it.
And Nene will put the brakes on them, doing anything like that. And she'll get on to them. And we also have this thing called a REM pod that lights up when spirit is near and all this kind of stuff. Some of you may be familiar. And Nene hated loud noises. So when they start getting on the REM pod, Nene will literally get onto them and tell them to quit touching the REM pod, that she's fed up with them touching the REM pod.
That's enough.
Yeah.
You don't know how many times I heard that when I was a kid.
So I got to meet Nene, but I met her in her I guess last days. She was not in great shape. We did get to meet. I was a pallbearer at her funeral. But
that's not how they met.
No. but Poppy, unfortunately I never got to meet Poppy, but they are two great people. Me and Amanda have many things in common, but one of the things in common that we have is our grandparents were like parents to us. So that generation was just golden. Like all the people we know from that generation is just awesome people.
Well, so the third people we're going to talk about
is Papa and Mama Janice. So Papa was my grandfather, Mama Janice was my grandmother. Those two, like I've said in the previous video, is what got me into Santa Muerte. Not that they were followers of Santa Muerte, because they definitely weren't into that kind of thing. But Santa Muerte came to me before both of their passings. And I didn't say this in the last video, but when Mama Janice was on her deathbed, I was praying to Santa Muerte to keep her alive so she could see the entire family. I wanted everybody to have their time with her. Even though she was in the hospital, I wanted her to have the chance of her to say goodbye to the family. So that night happened. The family was there. She got to see everybody. And before I say that, I did a tarot spread before I went to the hospital, and basically the tarot spread told me that Mama Janice, this was her last day, it's her last night. So I was already kind of thinking that, this might be the last time I see her. And again, that night she got to see the whole family. And then I kind of kneeled down by her bed and told her, I was like, look, if you're tired and you don't feel good or whatever, you want to be with Papa, feel free to be with Papa, because I'll take it from here. So anyway, I'm kind of getting off subject here, but Papa and Mama Janice were both like parents to me. I didn't have, my father was never really present. My mom, not really.
We don't have anything nice to say.
Yeah, and the estate thing went sideways, and that's a whole nother story too.
Death brings out the worst in people.
But anyway, so we've been to all of these people's graves too, by the way, and we've spoke to them at their grave, and Mama Janice and Papa we've done the same thing with.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to add?
Well, so that summer that my grandfather passed away, I was really, really distraught. Like, I wasn't there for one, and I just took it really hard. It was really unexpected. It was just insane. And then he comes into my life again, and never gave me a second look before. And so this time he did, and then long story short, we ended up moving in together within the first week of being together, and he moved me into his grandparents' house. And the blessing in that was that I got a grandfather again. My grandmother was still living, but she was a shell of herself because she had lost her person. And so I got these two jovial grandparents. Papa was just like my grandfather. They go fishing now. They do all kinds of stuff together. They are best friends in death. And I always told Scott that You know, if my grandfather was still alive and your grandfather alive, we couldn't separate them.
They were both great men from a great generation, and they never met each other. I mean, again, I never even met Poppy, you know, but apparently in the afterlife they are like best
They're
friends
tearing it up
together all the time. So I believe that's about it. You want to add anything about them? Okay.
Okay. Well, then we've got Deuter.
Right.
Deuter.
Dude.
Dude.
That's the way he comes. Like when he makes himself present, that's what he goes. Dude. But he was Deuter. That's why we called him Deuter, because he used the word dude so much.
This one right here, his first name, Stephen, is Deuter. Two people on the Ofrenda represent this little one right here. And
His name.
his name, yeah. Well, not necessarily their personality. That would be weird. Anyway, no, just the name. We passed their names down to our son because they were such a huge part of our life. But Deuter, his name was Stephen, and he is, you know, responsible for SJ's first name. He's the reason why me and Scott got together. He rescued me from, I met him by him rescuing me from a really crappy situation. I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, so it was a really bad situation. And he was like, look, I'm going to take you somewhere. And I was like, okay, fine, get me out of here anywhere but here. And he goes, okay. And I said, where are you taking me? And he said, to Scott. And I was like, heard. Okay. So then he took me to him, and he literally looked at me and he told me, he's like, I'll protect you. And I was like, okay. And then that's it, but it's because of Deuter. Deuter took me to Scott. He was with one of his many flavors of the week, so
Deuter was, not me.
Yeah, not Scott. I just interrupted that. No, Deuter was he was not an apologetic person. He just did what he did, and you had to deal with it or just move on.
And so Deuter with me, like, of course, me and Deuter were friends before Amanda even came into the picture, and we had been friends for quite some time. Deuter stayed in trouble. We were a troublesome crowd, not just me and Deuter, but everybody we hung out with. We stayed doing illegal activities, and it was a plethora of illegal activities. But anyway, so like, he was on the run a lot. He actually went to prison. That's another story. It was for breaking and entering or burglary or something to that extent. I forget what it was, but it wasn't nothing what I would call aggressive, you know, like he didn't go rob a bank or anything like that. So he was on the run, and he was living a lot of different places. One night he came to my house wanting me to, I guess, come hang out with him or whatever, still on the run. And my mother, Selena, called the law to him. And the law, in which I didn't know she even did. I found this out later. But like, Deuter ended up getting caught by the law, and he went to prison. And the next thing I know, I got in a lot of trouble, and I turned to the church and was going to church. And I'm in church, like before the service or whatever. You know, I'm going around shaking hands, like, hey, how you doing, all this kind of stuff. And I turn around, and me and Deuter were like less than 4 feet apart. We made eye contact, and it's like, what are you doing here, you know? So anyway, so we become close again or whatever. And then one last thing I'd like to add, that in the month of December, he came to us. I think it was the first week of December. Amanda cooked him dinner, him and Megan both. And he
was sick.
Yeah, he was sick. He was like bronchitis / pneumonia type stuff. And anyway, long story short, he kept going to the doctor. It went from like pneumonia to HIV. We found out he had HIV, and then found out he had AIDS, and then he had spinal meningitis. And spinal meningitis is what got him. So he was with us the first week of December, and then he passed away on December 30th. Me and Deuter were like brothers. Like, not too many guys I trust. I definitely trusted him. He was a good man. Lots to say there, but I'm gonna just kind of cut it off there. So, but Deuter also had a woman, and her name was
Megan. Megan will come through every once in a while. She's not. She's super busy looking over hers and Deuter's daughter. Now, Duder never got to meet his daughter. She's actually my goddaughter. Unfortunately, since Megan's passed, I haven't seen her. So been trying to reach out and connect and all that jazz, but there's just been so much trash talked to her over her years without both of her parents, about her dad, and she just doesn't want anything to do with us. So there's a growing period for her daughter, but she's busy over there checking on Adia. So Megan, she was a hippie, an artist, a beautiful artist. She was just a hippie. She was a very earthy person. She loved the hell out of life. She was madly in love with her daughter and with Duder. It destroyed her when he died, and she was pregnant with her daughter. She was never quite the same after he passed away, and then she ended up taking her own life not too long after that.
She died in a car wreck.
Yeah.
From what we understand, she ran up under a transfer truck, and you can imagine it was probably a pretty bad scene. We actually went to her Facebook page to tell her happy birthday and found out that she had passed.
Yeah, I was pregnant with this one. It was,
and unfortunately, our dealings with Megan, I mean, she's a good person, all that good stuff, but I hate to say this, but she's one of the saddest souls I've ever met, like on the afterlife. She is so worried about her daughter. And then, like Amanda said, we've reached out to her daughter. I've talked to her daughter, but like her daughter never really, well, she knew Megan, but like as a little kid knew Megan, and her head has been just filled with so much stuff, and it's none of it's, yeah. Well, I mean, they've taken bits of truth and just stretched it and made Adia kind of resent her dad, Duder, and of course, long story, but anyway, Megan spends a lot of time looking over Adia because Megan feels like Adia is in the same situation that she was in, because Megan had nowhere to turn after Duder passed away, and she was living with her mother, which now Megan's passed. Now Adia is living with Megan's mother, and Megan is really worried about that situation. So anyway,
she was just a sweetheart.
Megan was.
And for her to make Duders like just have all eyes on her, like that was a big deal. You don't understand. Duder was a hoe. So for him to be with Megan, it was just like, it was so awesome that he was a couple with Megan, and then you had me and Scott, and we were always doing stuff together up until that first week of December.
And Megan was an introvert too, so she was kind of a quiet person. And we've known, like, we've got two people here on the table that were introverted. Megan was one of them, and Joe was another. And they're both not very strong coming through. I don't know if that's got something to do with it or not, but anyway, this one's getting tired. You got anything to say about Megan?
No, not really.
You got anything to say about Duder?
No.
Okay. So on to our next. Well, that will be Joe. Joe was pretty close to us. What can I say about Joe? I didn't feel, I'm not trying to bash Joe at all. I didn't feel as close to Joe as I did the rest of everybody else. Now, having said that, me and Joe were very close, but like these people, Duder and Josh and Nene and Pop, like we were inseparable, Joe was kind of in and out of our lives. But when he was in our lives, he was very close to us. And when he died, he was very close to us. He had a lot of different things going on. He was a very emotional person. Some might even call him an emo, but like he had his own flavor, his own style, and
he rocked that crap too.
He did. So
he's the type to show up in a top hat with a freaking cane and just take over the whole room.
Literally, like, he would wear that.
Or he'd dye his hair like electric blue, and then like spike it up on one side and straighten it on. I mean, he had this crazy style, and like nobody else could do it, but Joe could pull it off.
And before he passed away, he actually got his real estate license, so he was going to be a real estate agent. It went to hell, really due to drugs and people he hung out with, which was not us. He was with somebody else, but Joe's an awesome person. He's come through. He also has a daughter that he looks over. He has a past lover that he looks over as well. We've spoken,
ex-wife.
yeah, we've spoken to both of them as well. And that's something else. Like a lot of these people that's on the other side, they give us messages to give to people on this side. So then we go to give the messages to those people, and a lot of times they're already expecting it, or they already know they felt the loved ones that's passed around them. So then when we go to give them a message, most of them are pretty accepting. There's been one.
It was his wife or his ex-wife.
Yeah,
She's
right.
like waiting on you.
Right.
I was wondering when that was going to happen.
Joe was good people. You know, he made some bad choices, but you know, it's like I tell everybody, we've all made bad choices. You could take the worst things about me and tell it to somebody, and they go, man, that dude, he's not a good person. But I mean, you know, there's more to it than that. But Joe was a really good friend to us, and he still is, and he still comes through. And Joe, just like everybody else, his main concern is his family. He's talked about his ex-wife. He's talked about his daughter. He's talked about his dad and his mom.
His sister.
Yeah, his sister. And again, all these people talk about their families, you know, and it seems like, you know, when you go to the other side, that's really what you're worried about is people that are still on this side, the living people, you know. And Amanda actually talked about that in her last video. Like if she passes, she would be worried about the people that were here.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what happens. You know, you look over the ones that you had to leave on, you know, on this side of life. So anyway.
Well, that
Yeah, I
pretty
hope
much sums up our Ofrenda.
this may end up being the complete video. I'm not sure. We've got some spirit box stuff that I said this in the last video, but we're about to get on this stuff. We've got Samhain. I'd love to make a Samhain video. We've got spirit communication videos that I've made in the past. We may be releasing them on Leo Starfire and possibly Starfire Apothecary. And so anyway, so there's a little bit about the people that we talk to and communicate through the Ofrenda. And actually, there's more.
Oh yeah.
We make an honorable mention, like Miss Ruby.
Yeah, my great grandmother.
Mr. Bill.
This woman came through on the spirit box at her graveside and gave me the recipe, the missing ingredients to a soup that I love that she made. It's called rabbit stew, and no, it doesn't have any rabbit in it. It's what rabbits would eat, so like green beans and tomatoes, and I was missing 2 ingredients, and she come through and told me all of them, and then I listened back to it and I was like, holy crap! So I came home and I made it with some cornbread that night. It was so good.
So let me recap this, all right? We were at the cemetery doing a spirit box session. Miss Ruby comes through, gives her the missing ingredients to her recipe. We come home, she makes it, and holy shit, that was it. Like we made, or she made rabbit stew from somebody that had passed away on the other side. Like, how mind blowing is that? We'll probably release that video eventually. I gotta find it or whatever, but.
Yeah, and I might actually make a video to show you how to make rabbit stew, because if you haven't had it, it's basically just a vegetable soup. So you can throw in whatever kind of vegetables you want, but there's certain ones that my grandmother used to use, and I'm really particular to that recipe just because it tastes like home. So.
And then maybe two more. Granny Mose, which is my great grandmother, she's come through, and we went to her grave after she came through here first. And then we paid her a visit to her grave. And then just the other day, Dallas, her son, came through, which Dallas is on the other side too, and he came through. So it's like our family continuously comes through and talks to us, and they're with us, and it's just it's an amazing thing. And again, this is not just limited to these people. Like we've had, you know, people that's trying to connect to other people on the other side. They come here and want to connect, and usually we go to Josh. Josh will go find them on the other side. He brings them forth.
Right,
and then
Dude
bam,
went
there
to
they are.
Texas and back in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, there was a woman that had passed away in Texas, and he got her and brought her to her daughter, which unfortunately the mother and daughter had never met. Long story, but then the daughter that was with us that day, after talking to her deceased mother told her about more family members that were also in Texas, and so the daughter went and looked it up, and sure enough, they're in Texas. Like, mind-blowing stuff. Like, you just can't deny it. Like, it's so awesome. So anyway, I think that's about it.
I
Yep.
think it is too.
Sorry for the long video, but like now, you have a pretty good idea about everybody we talked to from the Ofrenda.
And then get ready because we've got some stuff for you.
And now you know when we say their names on the spirit box, you know who we're talking to.
That's it.
Yeah, you know what they look like. So, all right, well, we're going to be signing off now. I hope y'all have a wonderful, rest of your day, night, morning, whatever it is. And just like holler at us if you have any questions about anything.
Yeah,
We'd
as
love
always.
some commentary on some of our videos if you wouldn't mind. Maybe to let us know some topics that you'd like us to discuss because we are pagan. And we've raised him pagan as well. He believes in what he wants to believe in. I don't really, we don't stipulate what he has to do.
I choose this.
He chooses it. So there's a lot of adventures that will go on together as far as just different events that we're gonna be at and celebrations that we're gonna do. Samhain's just right around the corner as well. And then you have Dia de los Muertos, and then that's the 1st of November. And so
we could do videos on all this
Yeah.
stuff. It's just for us, it's finding the time to do it because we're a very busy family. So hopefully, well, not hopefully, we're gonna be dropping some videos here pretty soon. The next one I would pretty much put money on is gonna be spirit communication.
Yeah.
And then hopefully a Samhain video sometime pretty near too. So
y'all just let us know though. All right, well, we'll talk to you later. Blessed be.
Bye.
blessed be.